Welcome back to another episode of the KarterKast. I'm your host, Karter. Baughan. With me, as always, Dylan, Ben, Connor. NFC West preview today. We're almost done with the previews, fellas. We're recording Thursday, August 29th. We have football tonight. We've got college football week 1 starting tonight. A lot of games tonight, but it's okay. Real football is going to be on our TV. A lot of games at once. We're going to get 10 games all at the same time. Most of them might stink. It doesn't matter. Football's finally here. But it's the NFL time. NFC West, we're going to start off with the Niners. But before we do that, SeatGeek, Dylan. Download the SeatGeek app. Go to SeatGeek.com. Use code KarterKast. $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Actually, use SeatGeek. This isn't a bit, Dylan. I actually used SeatGeek two nights ago. 2 nights ago. I'm losing track of days. I was in New York City this week. Went to the U.S. Open with SeatGeek. Yeah, not a flex. It was a long trip. But use SeatGeek at the U.S. Open, code KarterKast, $20 off first purchase, $50 minimum purchase required. Dylan, anything on SeatGeek?
I'm going to push back a little bit because you mentioned something about a bit. This is a no-bit show, so I'm not really sure what you were referring to about this whole no-bit thing. But I do want to say about SeatGeek real quick, code KarterKast. My mom told me that apparently Hallmark was recording a movie this summer at Arrowhead, a Christmas love story. Obviously, can we guess who it's going to be after? Any guesses? Arrowhead?
I've got a couple, Dylan.
Oh, Brittany Mahomes and Trump.
Probably. I was gonna say Kadarius Toney.
Yeah,
and dropping passes. Yeah,
like Santa Claus comes to town and like, hey, Kadarius, here's some gloves.
Super sticky, super tacky gloves.
Yeah.
No, it's Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and I bought my tickets for the airing at the local AMC on SeatGeek.
Okay.
Code KarterKast, $20 off.
I love
diversity.
Yeah, all right, no bit show. Let's do this. NFC West, San Francisco 49ers. Let's start off. Super Bowl runner-up. Barely beat the Lions in the NFC title game. Don't need to bring that up. Over-under total, win total is 11.5, minus 190 for this division. Dylan, you've talked about this off the air with us. You're not high on the Niners.
I don't want to say I'm not high on them. I think they're a great team. I have seen some things that worry me from going from 2 years ago to last year, heading into this year, and I'm not going to sit here and I'm not going to slander Brock Purdy. Wow. That is overdone. Everybody loves to do that. Overdone. I don't want to hear it. Button shirt. I'm talking.
Time out.
Okay,
All right, yeah, we got to get the Trump Kamal mute button in here sometime. Dylan, you say, okay, I'm not high on this Brock Purdy guy and whatnot, but then you slander Jared Goff for essentially having similar stats and similar capabilities as Brock Purdy.
I'm saying that I'm not doing the Brock Purdy is not good thing. Is that what you said?
You just seem like you're more down on Jared Goff, and Brock Purdy's this great quarterback.
I'm not even saying I'm down on Jared Goff. What I said about Goff was he's a dome merchant. As simple as that.
But what Brock Purdy then? He's essentially playing in a dome. You play in beautiful Santa Clara weather every week.
But I think the conversations that are being had about Purdy are different than what I'm saying about Goff. I think people are saying that if Purdy wasn't in this system at all, he wouldn't be, a starting quarterback in the NFL. He wouldn't be a top 10, top 15 quarterback.
Welcome to ESPN, Dylan.
And that's the business we're in, boys. We're in the clicks business, right? And I'm not going to say anything like that about Purdy. He's shown us for 2 years straight. We saw what that team looked like when he wasn't at quarterback 2 years ago in the playoffs. But I have concerns. I have major concerns, especially on defense. And I never thought that I would say that. You add that on with the fact that we're having all these contract negotiations. They lose Eric Armstead. What's up with Ayuk? Trent Williams, is he the one that's having contract disputes now? He's holding out until the fact that all of this is happening, you want to throw in the chance of CMC having an injury at some point in the season? That's not crazy. For 11.5 wins, I think we're kind of just chalking up this 49ers team to be great again. And there's a lot of things that worry me here. Leonard Floyd is not a replacement for Chase Young on the edge. They had a decent offense last year with the 26th rated pass block unit. I just don't think this defense is going to be what we normally see from a San Francisco 49ers defense.
Can I add to your point real quick? The other part about the injuries that you didn't bring up is last year was the first year since 2019 that their quarterback stayed healthy for the full year. Besides that, no quarterback in a 49ers uniform would stay healthy throughout the year. And I agree with you with the Christian McCaffrey point. I think there are slight red flags. I'm not as down on as you seem, though.
11.5 wins with this team. It almost seems like everybody has to be healthy for almost the entirety of the season. And can you anticipate that? Debo, Kittle, just CMC. I don't believe it. Now, are they going to win the division? Probably. I'm going to say probably. But to chalk them in as maybe like the top team in the NFC, I don't think we can do that.
Connor.
Yeah. I think, Dylan, your points are valid, and I'm not going to come on here and slander Brock Purdy. That's not my MO here. I will say this. He was great in his first full year. What happens when everything doesn't go right? What happens when everyone isn't healthy? What happens when Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams are both holding out and they might not start the year? What happens when Deebo Samuel gets hurt or Christian McCaffrey with a hamstring injury, which is no joke, by the way? He's going to wear that questionable tag around like a cape all season because of this hamstring injury. I don't know what Brock Purdy does when everything doesn't go right. I don't think I trust him to elevate this team. He's fine. Like, you throw him in there with all the weapons like last year, everyone's healthy, they make a run, he can get done what needs to be done. But I don't think I trust him to take another step and elevate this offense when they're missing vital pieces like Ayuk and Trent Williams or whoever else gets hurt during the year. That's my only question with this. I don't know. I like Brock Purdy as a quarterback, but like I just said, I don't trust him to elevate the offense more whenever they're missing the weapons. That's my main concern. And there is red flags. The red flags are there.
Is Brock Purdy the NFL Stetson Bennett? Where it's like he takes his team, they go to they're like, it varies from he's this MVP candidate. Like the discourse is like, he's this MVP candidate. And then the other side's like, he sucks. He shouldn't even be starting. Like, I feel like that kind of existed with both of them.
There's a wide range for sure.
Yeah.
Wide range of opinions.
Yeah. So I see a lot of similarities. I also like with the 49ers, the defense, like going off of Dylan's point, it wasn't that great last year. I mean, it was good, right? It's a 49er defense. I'm not trying to make it sound like it wasn't good, but I remember going to the 49ers Chiefs Super Bowl, like people kind of being like, well, it's kind of like the 49ers defense, that strength versus the Chiefs offense and that strength. I was like, weirdly, like it's the opposite. Like it's the 49ers offense, it's the Chiefs defense that like have been leading these teams all season last year. But that goes against like the public perception of both of those teams. I think the 49ers, even if you're high on them, like I wouldn't say I'm low on them, but I'm kind of like, I'm not high on them as a regular season team. Like I just kind of think they'll be beat up. They'll be like working through issues where it's like, ooh, is Ayuk unhappy? Is Trent Williams unhappy? Is so-and-so unhappy? What's going on? And then in week like 15, they start turning things on. And then they're like good to go in the playoffs. But I could totally see that scenario. And just a quick question, Dylan, who do you like in the NFC? That's not meant as a criticism, but like, I know you don't love the Lions. I know you don't love the Packers. I know you don't love San Francisco. There's history that says you don't love Philadelphia.
I will not love Philadelphia.
Yes. So maybe I shouldn't have you spoil it. But I am curious to see who Dylan likes out of the NFC.
I think the Lions will be very strong because of their schedule. My only concern, and we talked about this, is having to go in the playoffs, play outside, whatever it might be. That worries me. But Lions, I would say. Rams, I would say. We could use that as a segue. Cowboys, I'm always a Cowboys merchant. Those are the three that pop out.
Okay. Cool.
And this year, Falcons.
Can I start with the Rams?
Real quick. Last thing.
Okay.
I'm not done. Last thing on the Niners.
Yeah.
They do have a tough schedule. You go through
really tough. Not easy.
Game by game. You're like, there's probably 100% lock wins there. But the rest of these games, you got Bears, Bills, Chiefs, all just gauntlet of a schedule. So I would never sniff that 11.5 win total. I think it's. 11 wins is a lot of wins in football. This team could very well go 10-7, 11-6, and still win the Super Bowl, no problem. I would stay so far away from this 11.5 win total. And I was so big on the Niners. I thought the Niners were going to be a lock to win the Super Bowl last year before the season started. the holdout stuff, all the off the field stuff going on, it kind of worries me a little bit. There's just weird juju going on, Super Bowl hangover stuff going on in San Francisco for me.
Well, when you start the offseason, when you just go into the season with all of this off the field stuff, all this off the field drama, people can say it's not a big deal and it'll get resolved. It does take a toll. We have to mention it. Like, if that starts spilling over into the season, they've already missed some training camp because of it. There's already been, like, obviously Trent Williams holding out. He's not going to budge. And on defense, you mentioned it, Dylan. Leonard Floyd and YGM, your Turk Gross Matos, already banged up in the preseason. YGM, I think, is going to miss the first couple of games. Like,
I'm not
all
worried
this
about
bad
that.
juju heading into the season makes me feel down on the 49ers. And last thing, CMC, last 3 years in Carolina, he played 3, 7, and 6 games. He played a full year last year. He is due for some missed games this year due to injury. And that the rest of that backfield, Elijah Mitchell starts on IR. The rest of that backfield does not look promising. So red flags are there, and I don't trust Purdy to elevate.
Last thing about the Niners backfield, I never worry about Niners running backs. I think they just fill in because the offensive line is so good, and they're just going to look awesome. Just pick up the second guy in fantasy whenever McCaffrey gets hurt. Wilson, come on in. Come on, Jeff Wilson. You're going to be great. So,
But the O-line's banged up too, Carter, to be fair. Trent Williams is out, and the rest of the O-line's banged up.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
It's
And
so
Greg
funny
Greenlaw's
how
still out from the Super Bowl.
that 49ers offensive line's so great at run blocking, but they are awful at pass blocking. Just an all-around awful unit pass blocking. It's astounding to me. But yeah, we touched on it. Defense is going to not be great. Run defense is surprisingly bad. Tackling, So yeah,
And they're
it seems
still
like we're
minus
kind of on the
190.
same page.
And they're still minus 190 in the division, which seems crazy, but it's probably warranted.
Yeah. Rams over under win totals 8.5. They're plus 330 to win this division. I'll start with you, Ben.
I was going to say, I love the offense. Obviously, Stafford's great. You got guys like Puka and Kupp, and then even Kyron Williams. That defense, thoa
Overs team. They're an overs team.
Overs team.
If you're a
Dome.
better each week, everyone
Yeah.
like I'll listen to these previews and stuff, and they're like, ooh, Seattle, or not Seattle, ooh, the Lions, ooh, Washington, all these teams being like they're going to be all over red zone. They're going to be putting up 1 million points. The Texans, the Rams are going to put up 1 million points. Sneaky. What about the Rams to lead the league in scoring? I don't know what the odds are off the top of my head, but if they're going to have a bad defense, they're going to have a lot. It's going to be like college football style games where there's going to be a lot of possessions and a lot of offense. Keep going, Ben. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say is they feel like a team that's going to get in a bunch of shootouts and win a decent amount of them, but to elite teams, probably lose them. Like I even think like week 1 when they play the Lions in Detroit, like if their defense isn't ready to play and can't really hang, like that makes it really hard for me to see them winning that game. And I think that's kind of what's holding them back from, because I feel like they're kind of like a sexy like NFC contender type pick, but just the defense, losing Aaron Donald, right? Trading away Ernest Jones, like it just looks it looks rough. I need to see some, like maybe it's a little better than I'm giving it credit for, but like I have to see it before I can really put stock into it.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of media members right now are just chalking it up to, Sean McVay's going to figure it out. Sean McVay's going to figure out. I don't know. It's pretty hard to replace potentially the best defensive tackle in the history of football.
Might be kind of hard, yeah.
Yeah, what are we doing here? I'm worried about the Rams, though. I'm worried about the defense. I'm also worried because, Ben, as a BYU fan, you know this too. Puka Nacua last year was
He gets hurt a lot.
He gets hurt a lot. Last year was kind of an anomaly. He's already banged up in training camp. He didn't practice most of training camp because of a knee injury. I worry a lot about the Rams and their injuries. Cooper Kupp doesn't stay healthy. Stafford, he's at the tail end of his career. He's had back issues. Puka Nacua, like I just mentioned. I don't know. I wouldn't feel confident about backing the Rams in this division either, just based on injury history. And this defense might be Swiss cheese all season.
I'm going to go the other way here. I hear the defensive concerns. I do. And now with Aaron Donald gone, they're now the cheapest unit in the league. So take that for what it's worth. That's typically the spot. Their contract situation is not awesome. After that Super Bowl run, they went all in. Defense is the unit that gets neglected there more often than not. I think they'll still be average. If they can be average, I have so much trust in this offense that I love the Rams this year. I do. I think people are quick to forget that when Stafford, Kupp, Nacua, and Kyron Williams were healthy last year under McVay, they were damn good. They started 3-6, finished on a 7-1 run to go 10-7. Their season was damn near over against Seattle, and they went on that run and went to the playoffs, all that stuff. Cooper Kupp, this is my main point. This is why I feel confident. Yes, Puka's banged up, but people are already writing off Cooper Kupp as like, oh, he's a veteran. Like, he'll mentor Puka Nacua, but his best days are behind him. He's 2 years off of a Triple Crown. Last 2 years, missed 13 games. Bad injury luck. I don't think that continues. From what I'm hearing, he's been killing it in the offseason. He's fully healthy again. He's only 31. We're acting like this guy's 35 and he's at the tail end of his career. I think Cooper Kupp has another 2 years in him of an elite receiver, especially if Stafford can stay on the field. And Kyren Williams, there are some concerns there volume-wise, injury-wise. Blake Corum can't stay off the field, it seems like. Like when Sean McVay comes out and says, yeah, we're going to have Kyren Williams returning punts, that to me spells out Blake Corum is stealing his offensive snaps and he can't stay off the field. And that's a positive thing for me. If you got two backs back there that you love playing, the more the merrier. I think Corum's going to be an underrated piece this year for the Rams. I've heard Puka Nacua and Kyren Williams will take steps back. But my argument is Blake Corum and Cooper Kupp make up for any regression we see there, injuries or not. So I love this Rams offense, and sneaky 8.5 wins is a great deal. And I would not blame you for laying a little bit on them to win the division, especially with all those Niners.
I don't hate the sprinkle, but I just worry about the defense and the injuries.
Yeah.
The offense is 100% there, and I don't know how we feel about Matt Stafford, but last year, this unit, top 10 in yards per attempt and yards per catch. Stafford was first in big-time throw rate, third lowest turnover-worthy play, all of this while having the second highest drop rate. So even if his receivers were letting him down, Stafford was still getting it done. 2.6 seconds time to throw, which compensates for their average offensive line. Some people might be writing off Stafford like, he's old, injury prone, and that's fine, but he's still got a little something left in the tank. At least we saw it last year. And Connor, to your points about the depth at running back, it's like, even if these guys take a step back, you still have Cooper Kupp. You have Blake Corum, who in his time at Michigan, I'm fairly certain only really suffered one injury. He was out 2 years ago, I think, for a couple games. So you have a reliable back there. I love it. And the bad that I would say about the Rams, they were the most penalized defensive unit. They allowed the third highest average distance of target. They are making attempts to remedy this defense via the draft. We saw that this year. I think 5 of their 6 picks were defensive picks, and 2 of them are taking first team snaps. So we'll see if there's any improvement there. But I love this Rams team. 8.5 wins seems too low. And looking at the schedule, it's not easy. But, I mean, at New England, at New Orleans, at Chicago, Detroit will be a tough one. And then you host Miami, you host Buffalo. Those aren't easy as well. But in a division where it's really probably a 2-team race, I like the Rams.
This division's not easy, though. I don't...
You think one of these 2 bottom dwellers is going to make a run for it?
I don't. No, I don't, but I think the games are going to be competitive. I don't think they're going to make a run for the division, but I think the games are going to be competitive against the Rams.
we could make that argument about any divisional game.
There's not a
games
terrible
historically
team.
Are the closest games on the schedule.
There's not a terrible team in this division. Like, there's not a New England in this
that's
division.
true.
I don't know. I don't know about
or
that.
New Orleans. Yeah, there's no New Orleans in this division.
Yeah.
Bucks.
Anything else on the Rams before we move on? Good.
I trust McVay just to raise their floor and ceiling. That's the bottom line. I trust him to raise their floor and their ceiling for this team. If they stay healthy, I think double-digit wins is pretty good.
We kind of ignore the fact, too, about McVay. We got to give him credit. Once he got the Rams in, like you said, Connor, they sold out for a Super Bowl. McVay could have left. He could have just ducked out and pieced out of town. But he decided to stay, and he might reap some rewards here shortly for that.
Okay. All right. Cardinals. No, I'm just kidding. Seahawks over under win total 7.5. They're plus 700 to win the division right now. Mike McDonald, head coach. This has been the weird one where every single, this is a very, very, very sexy pick right now is the Seattle Seahawks. Every preview you listen to, every article you read, there's someone saying, "Oh my gosh, Mike McDonald, there's no way the Seahawks aren't going to be competitive. They're going to be in the playoff race. They're probably going to compete for the division in year 1 with Mike McDonald in Seattle." I'm not so bullish on it, Dylan.
It's tough. It's tough because you have Mike McDonald, who has a proven track record of improving defenses everywhere he's been. Michigan, he did it. He did it at Baltimore. It's very tough to go against that. But looking at their roster, there really wasn't anything they did that popped out to me to improve from last season. They lose Bobby Wagner. That's a huge loss. Huge loss.
Still very productive.
Yes. And it's I'm not super high on this Seahawks team. Now, we've always been believers in this offense, and that kind of widens the range of possibilities. Like sometimes all you need to do is just to be able to keep up with the Lions, keep up with the Rams. That's really all you have to do. But I don't know if I see it for the Seattle team. Geno hasn't impressed me. 7th highest turnover-worthy play rate last season. I don't know if I'm buying it. Great receivers and great skill positions. As much as I hate to say it, like Jackson Smith and Jigba, a fine receiving option. It's just the defense is a huge question mark for me, especially when we're looking at the two teams above them. I definitely don't see the Seattle Seahawks jumping them.
Connor.
I'm not as, I don't know if down's the right word. I kind of like Seattle this year. Maybe not as much as I've been hearing on some of these preview shows, but number one, you got Sam Howell. No, I'm just kidding. Number one, Mike McDonald's in, like you said, Dylan, proven track record of improving defenses. I've got a bunch of numbers. I'm not going to read them. He went into Michigan. They got really good. He went to the Ravens. They got better both years. Finished first last year in total defense. It's there. The history's there. Offensively, Geno Smith, I was just looking at his career path. How the hell did we get here with Geno Smith?
Yeah.
Genuinely.
That magical run 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, there was 7 years between his last year starting in New York and his first year starting in Seattle. 7 years. He was out of the league for a couple of years. And now he's back as a starting quarterback at, in his 30s for a team that's competing for a division. That just, you could have told me that odds were like plus 100,000. I'd have been like, yeah, he's done. There's no way. But the Geno stuff's weird. DK, Lockett, JSN, pretty reliable receiving core. I think Noah Fant's due for a big year this year. Yeah. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, pretty complimentary backfield right there. A lot like Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. They complement each other and do things well that the other one doesn't. I think 7.5 wins is too low for Seattle. And my strategy is, if I'm going to bet somebody to win the division, I'm taking the Rams and I'm taking the Seahawks. I'm not putting my money on minus 200 with the Niners. So I think one of these two middling teams is probably going to make a run.
Let's entertain the possibility that Mike McDonald comes in and solves all of Seattle's defensive woes, okay? They become a top-tier defense. This offense still could not convert on 3rd down, 4th down, red zone. Like, those were systematic issues they had last year. Third most penalized offense. Like, there are still question marks with this offense that need to be addressed, even if the defense is just all of a sudden a top-tier defense.
But I've been nerding out doing all my research and stuff. Dylan, you'll like this. Isn't red zone like one of the biggest variant stats year to year? Shouldn't that typically change? If they sucked in the red zone last year, shouldn't that kind of regress to them being good this year? At least average? Like, they won't have another down year that badly in the red zone.
I think that could come down to maybe some other like play calling things, what they're calling in the red zone. So, I mean, everything has variance, right? I go drive to B-dubs. There's variance in what the order's going to look like. Are they going to be big wings, small wings?
You know what order you're getting.
No, I'm saying if I go get 6 wings, what size are the wings going to be? I don't know.
There you go.
There's variance in the size of the wings. Oh, all right, 10. You got me, Connor. You got me. But that's just like, even if the defense is fixed, we know the offense is high-powered, but last year when it mattered most, they could not convert, and they shot themselves in the foot a lot.
Yeah.
This just seems like a team that 8 wins just feels right. I mean, this win total, I like the over. I do lean Rams division, but I think Seattle's sneaky going to be competitive.
I agree with Connor. I agree with Connor. Like, Seattle is just one of those teams where I think they'll continue the trend of being a team that you don't view as being in the top of the NFC, but like you always have to look out for them on the schedule. I think they're a team, I think 7.5's a little low. I'm thinking we see more 8 or 9 wins out of them. Just because what's been said is I do like the offense as well. The offensive line isn't fantastic. Geno Smith isn't someone I'm sold on long term, but I think he's good enough with the weapons that they have. Great backfield, great receivers. Agreed that that's a tight end that could break out. Defense, the personnel isn't necessarily fantastic, but the Byron Murphy addition is big. Having Mike McDonald coaching that defense too is going to help. I don't think he just magically solves everything, but I think he makes it respectable along with an offense that should be above average in the league, and I think that puts you at like 8 or 9 wins.
I see more like 5-6 wins, and then we start having murmurs about the curse of Russell Wilson.
Oh, here we go.
That's
That
kind of
where
where
this
I'm going.
stems from. Is that this might need to be a therapy session?
Yeah,
real quick.
Seattle
No,
wronged Russell
no.
Wilson. Screw
Dylan,
them.
take a seat. Sit down. What did Russell Wilson do to you? What I know, Dylan? Did you have
Mr.
the
Unlimited.
What did he do for you? Maybe.
Dylan? Did you eat the Dangerous sandwich? You are entitled to compensation. If you
Maybe had a bite of the Danger Russ sandwich. Might have done that.
I might need you to recreate that commercial for me. We might need to do a SeatGeek ad with Dylan doing the Dangerous.
What? Yeah, get that Subway sponsorship.
Yeah, big money. Now we're talking big bucks.
Yeah,
Unlimited.
I mean, I'm not. This feels like an 9-8 team to me. For everything Ben and Connor mentioned, I don't think the defense can get worse this year. I think Byron Murphy is one of the most underrated additions in the league, especially via the draft. Geno scares me. That's what hinders me. Is Geno. Dylan mentioned it we talk about this in college football. When it was 3rd and 9 in that Florida State Georgia Tech game, you had zero faith that DJU was going to get it done on 3rd and long. I kind of feel the same about Geno. It feels lucky anytime they convert on 3rd and long. It's just, DK made a ridiculous play. I think he's a real beneficiary to remarkable receiving core. And so I would be surprised if at some point we see Sam Howell this season.
Bang.
really
And
don't
you know what?
think
There's
that
not
one
going to be a
surprise.
drop-off. Very comparable. If he comes in,
Yep.
there's not going to be a drop-off.
And we're due for some Geno regression, but anytime you start predicting what Geno Smith is going to be or what he's going to do, that's where you get burned, because whatever you think, the opposite will happen. If you think Geno's going to be great, he's going to stink. Like, I genuinely have I think he might be my least favorite quarterback to bet on in football, if I'm being 100% honest.
That's great.
He didn't write back.
Yeah.
Didn't write back.
And that,
No
and they can't
pens,
be
no
understated.
stamps.
Pete Carroll's gone. Oldest to youngest head coach. I think change of scenery, change of voice in the locker room. I think it was a little stale. That's also another factor.
Yep. All right, let's close up shop here. Last team, Cardinals. Over/under win total 7.5, plus 1,300 for the division. They draft Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. Kyler Murray back healthy. I don't know what to think about this Cardinals team. I think they're just going to be a fun league pass team. Fun Sunday ticket team where you're like, this is awesome. They're on my red zone. They're great. They've got some fun fantasy players. The defense is awful. Genuinely one of the worst defenses in football. Kyler Murray's going to be exciting, but is he going to stay healthy? Probably not. He never does. Marvin Harrison's going to be an electric receiver. He's probably going to catch for over 1,000 yards in his rookie season and be dominant in your fantasy drafts. But outside of that, 7.5 feels like a very, very, very high win total for this Cardinals team that has a terrible defense. Am I wrong? I feel like I've looked at this. I'm like, this should be 5.5. Why do they have why do they have two, three more wins than teams like the Broncos or the Raiders? They're on that same tier.
It was 5.5, 6.5 a lot of the offseason. It got bet all the way up. People are so in on the Cardinals, and I don't know what it is. Like, there's fun pieces. Like you said, Marvin Harrison Jr., one of the most pro-ready receivers we've seen come into the league. He's going to be great immediately. Trey McBride's awesome. James Conner just refuses to fall off. He was second in yards after contact last year. I keep thinking James Conner's going to have a year where I'm like, oh, he's done. Hasn't happened yet. But defensively, that's where I got to touch on. Second most injured D last year. I don't see it changing this year, honestly. They've already got 2 D linemen banged up. That's already started the injury bug. I don't know what it is with this Cardinals defense. Dead last in opponent rushing yards per game last year. You asked me to trust an offense with Kyler, which, yes, he might be awesome. He's got better weapons. He could come back and run and throw and be electric. But this is not a complete team. It's hard for me to put my faith in Kyler, a rookie receiver, and a defense that was near the bottom of so many categories last year and didn't do anything to address it. So I'm out on the Cardinals. I'll keep it short and sweet. I think they're clearly the worst team in this division, and 7.5 is way too high. I don't know why people are so in.
7.5 is tough. And I think as a Cardinals fan, they're almost kind of in a decent situation where you don't have high expectations for your team, but you get to watch a really fun player in Marvin Harrison Jr. And that's fair. You get to start the season with Kyler. I was looking at the PFF ratings by game for the Arizona Cardinals up until week 10 or whenever he came back. It was just a bunch of yellow and red. And then you started to see some green when he came back. So there are things to hang your hat on. But like you said, the defense is was so bad, and they did nothing to address that. No acquisitions. They tried to remedy it in the draft a little bit, drafted a cornerback and a defensive edge, but there's nothing really to get excited about other than Marvin Harrison Jr. and maybe Kyler Murray if you want to. James Conner's a great option, and the Cardinals' run game graded out very well last year. It was their highest graded asset. But kind of the same thing we talked about with all of these teams is, do you expect James Conner to be healthy for 17 games? He only played 13 last year. So it's there's question marks here. The defense is going to be bad. Offense could be fun. You know how I feel about short quarterbacks. You know how I can't throw over the line.
Ben likes abs. Dylan hates short quarterbacks.
I hate short quarterbacks.
Don't say the M word. M.
No, absolutely. Thanks for the clarification there. I would never.
Ben, real quick on the Cardinals.
I'm in the same boat as you guys. The defense stinks. Kyler Murray's fun, but is he going to play all 17 games? I have my doubts. I feel like this is a team that ends up being pretty bad, and you're like watching in week 12 and it's like Geno Smith and the Seahawks versus like Clayton Tune. Like I could just like I just see it. Kyler Murray's fun and he's good, but he's not that good. Marvin Harrison, like I expect him to be very exciting and fun too. James Conner's a solid running back. This is clearly the fourth best team in the NFC West. 7.5. This is like, I mean, I'm just going to spoil it. That's my win total favorite bet is Cardinals under that number. Cardinals under that number. I like the Rams have a really good offense, but it's like it's a way better offense.
Yep.
And I trust that the defense will be not as horrible as Arizona. But
and I feel bad. We're in the same boat for a lot of these teams. But I'm just going to be honest. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say, "Oh, all of a sudden I love the Cardinals just because you guys don't love the Cardinals." You can't. Bad defense. Kyler's not going to be able to stay healthy. Really, I just don't see this. I don't see 8 wins on this schedule. Real quick, then we'll get out of here. I'm going to read the first 7 or 8 games for the Cardinals. I don't see a world where it's higher than 2 wins. Okay, hold up. At Bills, home Rams, home Lions, home Commanders, at Niners, at Packers, home Chargers, at Dolphins, home Bears, home Jets.
That's
1
rough.
win, maybe the Commanders.
Maybe they still won Washington. Maybe they still won against the Chargers. But I have a hard time believing Harbaugh is going to lose to a team like this. Maybe you're right.
There's a real chance that they're winless. They're winless in that stretch.
Yeah,
that's not crazy.
That's a brutal stretch. When they're projected to face the toughest schedule of offenses. So that lines up exactly with what you just said. I wouldn't be shocked if they're 1-8 in that schedule you just read off.
Yeah, and then you're cooked. Then your win total's cooked. So anyhow, that spoils that. I got Cardinals under 7.5 wins as well. Connor,
favorite win total?
Yep.
I'm gonna go Rams over 8.5. Love it.
Love it. Ben, you said Cardinals. Sticking with it. Dylan,
I'll go 49ers under 11.5.
All right, quick fire. Division winner, Dylan.
Give me Rams plus 350.
Ben.
I'm going to go Niners, but it's going to be under the 11.5. They go 10-7 or 11-6, but Niners.
Connor.
I'm going Rams also. Dylan, I love it. Let's hop on the Rams train this year. Plus 330.
I'm going Panther. I'm just kidding. I'm going Niners. Don't overthink it. The Niners are still a good football team. I trust them to figure it out. If I'm going to trust anybody, it's going to be Kyle Shanahan. They got a great team. They're going to figure it out. The Niners, I agree with Ben. I think 11-6 wins this division. But that's it from us. Make sure to download SeatGeek. Use code KarterKast. $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Follow us all on the social medias in the episode description at KarterKast on everything. Make sure to like and subscribe and tune into the NFC East preview on the next episode, or check out any of our NFL previews or college football stuff's getting hot and heavy right now. Can't wait. Football's back. We'll be back. We'll see you all next time. Bye.